Okay, so hello everybody. Very nice to see you all again today. So we can start with our motivation. So we can take some time just to come back to the now. So we can just come back to our body, be aware of our body, and perhaps just have our back a bit more straight, but without creating tension. We want to keep the body, the mind very, relaxed. We want to be gentle with ourselves. So you can just take some time to be aware of the body. And if we notice there is some pain or some area that doesn't feel so good, we can just try to bring something very fresh in this place when we exhale. So if our knee hurts, when we exhale, we bring some fresh white light that dissolves the pain. And we can just observe our inhalation, exhalation, just our breath. We don't try to change anything. We just become aware, present. Is our breath very quick today? Is it very superficial or more deep? We don't judge, we just observe. And we can imagine in front of us is a blue sky, very vast, without any cloud, any pollution, completely pure, full of light. And from this blue sky appears Buddha Shakyamuni. His body is transparent, made of light. It's not solid. It's like he's made of a rainbow, taking the shape of the Buddha. The Buddha is smiling at us, at each one of us. He's very happy to see us gathered today. And we feel we can rely on the Buddha, on his teaching. So we generate a feeling of trust in the Buddha. We think that we are going to spend the next hour and a half together. Why do we do that? Why do we spend time, together, reflecting on the Buddha's teaching? It's because we want to make our life meaningful. We want to find really the essence of this life. And it's a journey on which we are not alone. So many people around us, people close to us, that we want to help. So we think of the people around us that are dear to us, and we want for them to have benefit from what we are doing together. Like that, we open our heart and we can even include people we don't know who we would like for them also to benefit from what we are doing. So like that, we can include everybody. It's like as vast as there is space, there are beings, and these beings, they are like us. They just want to be happy. They don't want to suffer. So what we are going to do together today, we are going to do it also for them. We include them in what we do. And the best way to include them is to think that our goal, our highest goal, is to be able to really benefit all these beings as vast as space. And to do that, we need to completely purify our mind of all the negative habits we have, and to completely increase, completely develop all our positive habits. So in other words, is to become a Buddha, to actualize our full potential. So we are going to do this, to spend this time together with this motivation to become Buddha, so we can benefit all beings. So this way we have bodhicitta motivation in our heart. And the Buddha in front of us is so happy. There is nothing that could please him better than us having this motivation. So together we can recite the prayer. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create, through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Sangin Shadang Tsoki Tsoknam Chon Chu Bado Dani Kyapsuchi Daki Jinsu Nyempe Soknam Ki Dora Penche Sangin Jumpa Shon Sangin Shadang Tsoki Tsoknam Chon Chu Bado Dani Kyapsuchi Daki Chenyen Gepe Sonangi Dora Penche Sangi Drumpa Sho. So last week we together, so we explored, bodhicitta, the mind of enlightenment, by doing meditation on how to generate bodhicitta in our mind. So and today, because it's the last day today, I think what we can do is to look a bit more at the wisdom side of the practice. So sometimes we talk about emptiness when we talk about wisdom. So what does it mean, this emptiness? Why is it important? And how can we develop our mind to have more wisdom? So when we speak about wisdom, what we mean is to generate a view, a way to look at ourselves and the world around us in a way that is true. Our goal is to see ourselves and what is around us correctly. So is to have a right view. So because now what is happening for us, actually the way we perceive ourselves and the way we perceive everything around us, so other people around us, physical objects, like tables, anything around us, and situations that happen in our life is not correct in the way that it doesn't match with the way things really exist. So, and why is it a problem? I mean, it could only be, like a philosophical problem or something very far from our daily life. This fact that we don't see reality as it is. But the problem is that actually it's what is creating all the problems we meet in our life. All the different problems or the different suffering that arise in our life are due to us not having wisdom. So it's very important. It's not just like some abstract philosophical way of looking at ourselves and the world that is not going to have an impact on our life. Actually, it's what is going to have the most impact on our life and the quality of our life is to be able to generate a correct view a view that is in accordance with the way things fully exist. So, and in to put it in very like Buddhist way to present this subject. So having like a realization of emptiness is what is going to allow us to be liberated from samsara. So to reach what we call nirvana, liberation. So wisdom, we can say it's like a sword. We have like a sword, and this sword is going to cut the root of our samsara. And the root of our samsara, it's what we call ignorance, marikpa, Tibetan. And this ignorance is our fundamental klesha. It's a fundamental delusion. And from this ignorance, all the other klesha, like attachment, anger, and so on, actually they are born from this ignorance. So if we manage, with a sword of wisdom to cut at its root our ignorance, then the other delusion, they cannot arise. So if no delusion arises in our mind, then we won't engage in negative actions. We won't create more negative karma. So if we don't create negative karma, then we won't have to experience more suffering. So in this way, we can stop the circle of samsara, of samsaric suffering. And actually, there is no other way to stop this circle. There are ways to reduce all of different delusions. Like, for example, anger. If we try, to meditate on patience, it will bring some. Our anger will reduce. But as long as we haven't cut, the root of all the klesha, ignorance, then there is no guarantee that anger won't arise again, even if every day we meditate on patience. It's not a true complete cessation. This meditation, for example, on patience, it will be only like a temporary cessation. But depending of different things that happen in our life, it's possible that anger arises again, even if every day we try, like in the morning, we try very hard to meditate on patience and to generate very strong motivation not to get angry. Depending on what is going to happen during the day, still it's possible that we can get angry and create a lot of negative karma, hurt people around us. But if we have wisdom, and if we manage to have a realization of wisdom, of emptiness, we can say, in our mind, then there is no way for anger or any of the other delusion to arise. So it's like there is no better weapon for us to be able to to stop hurting other people and to stop ourselves having to experience suffering. So last week we saw that with bodhicitta we will reach enlightenment, and so with emptiness we will reach liberation. So, and the two together of course, we need the two together to practice these two aspects together, like the two wings of the bird. If we want to really to reach the goal of the path. So I have a quote from Lama Zopa Rinpoche about wisdom. I'm going to read to you. It's something Rinpoche told during the Light of the Path retreat in 2010. So during this time, when you are meditating on or practicing mindfulness of the reality of everything, I, actions, objects, the whole thing, you are working for your liberation. Here, you are really working for your liberation because the superstitious thoughts, ignorance, anger, and attachments do not arise. While your mind is in this state, it is the antidote against ignorance and all the delusions, so you are working to achieve liberation, ultimate happiness. It never happened before. Not only has it never happened in this life, it never happened from beginningless rebirth. So here, so Rinpoche say, what I just told you is that when we are becoming aware of how things really exist, then we are working for our liberation. And the delusions, they cannot arise. And what he says also is that it never happened before. The thing, like we saw at the beginning of these sessions together, Dharma work, to work for the Dharma, to look for happiness in the Dharma, it's only a one-time work. So it's a work we only have to do it one time. And the results are going to stay with us in this life and in our next lives as well. So, and Rinpoche says, it never happened from beginningless rebirth. So, of course, if it had happened before, like if in our previous life we had managed to get a realization of emptiness, then of course now we will be liberated from samsara. So we will be in a very different situation. So of course it takes effort, and it's going to take a lot of work to get the correct view, but it's only a one-time work. So it's good. I like to remember that because it gives me a lot of hope. Okay, it's hard to generate the right view, but what I do now, it will not be lost. And even like if we don't manage to get a direct realization of emptiness in this life, still the work we did in this life, trying to study, to meditate, it will not be lost. It will continue. And in our next life, it will be easier to pick up this work, to start again. When we will listen to teaching on emptiness, we understand them much more quicker. It will be like very quick understanding. Our mind will be very sharp. Why? Because will already have studied them before. So what we do will not be lost, you know. It's not like what we do for, you know, just this life. It will be lost. Like if we only work like to have a good reputation, to have a lot of money, to have a lot of friends, it's lost in our next life. We won't be able to take it with us, but all the good imprints, all the positive things we put on our mind stream, that will still be with us. So this subject of wisdom actually is very vast. It's a very vast subject in the Buddhist tradition. There are lots of philosophical texts, treatises, commentaries written by the Indian Buddhist teachers, for example, Nagarjuna, and after written by the Tibetan Buddhist lamas, for example, Lama Tsongkhapa. And in India, they had in the Buddhist tradition in India before, even before Buddhism came to Tibet, they had these different philosophical schools studying this subject of wisdom, and mostly there are 4 schools: Vaibhashika, Sautantrika, Chittamatra, Madhyamika. And each one of these schools they identify wrong perception or different levels of ignorance, starting from very gross level of ignorance, and slowly each school works through eliminating first this gross level of ignorance, and then we reach what we probably already heard the name, Madhyamika Prasangika, and this it's considered to be the highest philosophical school with the most refined, subtle view on wisdom. So it's very, very vast, very vast subject with a lot of debate about the different, what does it mean, wisdom. So and it's you can deepen your studies by studying texts like the Heart Sutra. I saw on your website you have teachings on Vajrakota Sutra, so it's also one of these texts. Very good to study such a text, such a sutra on wisdom. And then you have of course, the Bodhisattva Charyavatara, written by Shantideva, chapter 9. And you have, if you have the opportunity to study the basic program, there is a module on Heart Sutra, one on Shantideva text, and one on these philosophical schools. It's called Drupta. So if you have opportunity to study that, it's very good. There are a lot of texts now translated into English, and now we have a lot of teachers in the West that have that study these texts and can share them with us. So of course today we are just going to look a bit like more like an introduction at this subject. So when we we speak about ignorance, one thing that is very important is to understand that we don't talk about, it's not that it's something we don't know, we ignore, we don't know. And like we have to go to school to learn this new subject. And we could think like that because there are all these different texts and philosophical writings about emptiness. So it could feel like it's a new subject we have to study. In a way it is, but in a way it's more about analyzing how we see ourselves and what is around us, and investigate if it's true, if do I really exist this way? Does the computer exist this way? And so on. So in a way, it can become very philosophical, but it's important to not become lost in the philosophy and to find a way to make it very personal. Because it's all about seeing reality as it is. So it's about us. It's very, we have to make it about us, not to become lost in books as well. So the books are here, or the studies we can engage in, they are here to help us generate an understanding and then to really meditate on this subject. So what is happening now is we see ourselves and everything around us as very solid, very concrete, as permanent, unchanging, as existing without cause and conditions, as existing from our own side. But actually, reality is completely opposite of that. Ourself and everything around us is empty of such permanent, solid, concrete existence. So in this subject, we often we talk about two extremes we have to avoid. And so one is called the extreme of nihilism, and one the extreme of eternalism. So it's like when we study, when we meditate on wisdom, we are on a very narrow path, and this narrow path is like at the top of a mountain. So if we fall one way or the other way, it's really not good, because imagine you're on top of a mountain, very narrow path, you don't want to fall, whether it's this side or that side, you don't want to fall, you want to stay on the very narrow path. So if we fall into the extreme of nihilism, what's going to happen? It's when what does it mean? It's when we think nothing exists, and sometimes we hear that, people, they have some teachings, I receive some teaching on emptiness, and they say, oh, but nothing exists, so doesn't matter whatever I do, And if you have this kind of thoughts, actually, it's one of these extreme. Why? Actually, on this very narrow path or compass, it's the law of karma. So if we start to think, karma doesn't exist, like what if we think whatever I do doesn't matter, it means we have lost our respect for karma. So it means we are fallen into this extreme. So emptiness doesn't mean nothing exists. It means the things do not exist in the way we perceive them. But it doesn't mean that nothing exists at all. And the other extreme is the extreme of eternalism. So for most of us, it's where we are now. We think, things are like they exist in the way we perceive them, and how do we perceive them is in very concrete, solid, almost eternal way. So it's something to keep in mind, to always have this compass, the law of karma in mind, to be sure we don't, the view we are going to generate in our mind, we can always, it's always going to work with karma. If it doesn't work with karma, then something is not right. So what we can do, today is to look at wisdom through the lens of dependent arising. And to do that, we are going to look at the three levels of dependent arising. So the first level is that everything exists depending on cause and conditions. And the second level is that so everything exists in dependence on its parts, on its different parts. And the third level is that everything exists in dependence on a label, a name. So these three levels of dependence arising, they are gradual. So we start by the most gross level, and slowly we reach a level that is more subtle. So what we can do together, is to look at these three levels of dependent arising in meditation. So I'm going to guide the meditation, and we are going to take different examples. I'm going to ask you to take an example of an object. So it can be, for example, an alarm clock, but it can be anything you'd like to take, like computer, whatever, a table. And we are going to take the example of ourselves. And we are going to do it for each one of these three levels of dependent arising. So it's, we are going to do investigation. We are detectives, and we are going to look for the truth, or how do we ourselves exist, and how does the things around us, how do they exist? So we start by the first level, cause and conditions. But even before we do that, it's good to just take a few moments. So to choose one object, a physical object. So it's good to take something from our daily life, like an alarm clock, table, computer. And just to observe, so we bring this object in our mind, and how do we perceive this object? We don't try to analyze anything, we just, when we think about our alarm clock, how does it appear to us? And usually what comes to our mind is that it appears in a very solid, concrete, permanent way. And we can do the same, with our other example, so ourself. So how do we, when we think about ourselves, what appears in our mind? And usually it's something, an image of ourselves that is very solid, very concrete, like very real in a way. So for this first level of dependent arising, we look at the fact that everything, all the things that are produced, they appear from cause and conditions. So we take our objects as an example. So alarm clock or another object we have chosen. And we think about all the different causes and conditions that created this object. So it was made probably in a factory. Different persons work on creating this alarm clock. And they had to gather different things to be able to build this object. if we look a little bit deeper, we can see that if these cause and conditions are not met, then the alarm clock will not have been produced. It will not exist. So it's not about something, like a trick, some magical thing. It's just, for example, if there were a fire in the factory when alarm clock was being made, then they would have to stop, the activities, and so our alarm clock will not exist. It will not have come into existence. So we can take like that very simple example. And we arrive, to a feeling that this alarm clock is like it's starting to disappear. We feel, oh, it could have never come into existence just due to a fire in the factory, or any other example. So it starts to disappear. The way we hold it as very solid, very concrete, almost as always having been there, we lose this. Right? And so we do like that our own story with our objects, what could have happened, and we see it doesn't take much for our objects to not exist. And when we manage to have this feeling of, oh, my object, we stop holding it, start to disappear, we stay on this feeling of the appearance. And we can do the same analysis using ourselves. So slowly we let go of the object, the alarm clock, and we take now the example of ourselves. Then we try to look at which cause and conditions made our existence possible. So we can think, there are two parts in us. One part is our body, and one part is our mind. and our body and mind together, they create this I. So we can look at which cause and condition made our physical body possible. We can think, of course, our body, in a way, it came from our parents. It's one level. And even before that, before our parents created a new life, other things happened. Like our parents, they met at some point in the past, and a lot of things, a lot of cause and conditions happened for them, to arrive at this point when they created us. We can even come back to our grandparents. No, our grandparents themselves, they are kind of responsible for our parents to exist. So these, our grandparents as well, they are cause and conditions that made our existence, our body possible. And if something happened, like if our parents didn't met, then what would have happened to us? Could we exist without our parents meeting? So like that, if we manage again, to have this feeling of disappearance, of losing this very solid, concrete way we think we exist, then we can stay in this feeling. Another way to think is to analyze that what we are today is like the result of so many things since the moment we are born. All the food we have eaten, all the different people we met, the different teachers we had in school and later in life, all the different interaction we had with other people, all the books we read, all the places we went to, all that had an influence on us. And if we did not have these different experiences, we will not exist the way we exist now. So again, when we do this investigation, and when we have a feeling, it's like we are losing ourselves. We are losing a very concrete, solid, permanent I, me. So we stay on that. So this is the first level of dependent arising. The fact that we and everything around us exist in dependence on cause and conditions. So now we are going to look at the second level of dependent arising. The fact that everything exists depending on parts. So again, we can, we keep the same example. So it can be an alarm clock. If we add another example, we take again the same example. And we look at our object, the alarm clock. And we look at its different parts. So there is a screen, battery, wheels inside, a lot of different parts in this alarm clock. So we can try, it's like with our mind, we try to find all the different parts of the alarm clock. And we put them next to each other. And if these different parts were not here, then the alarm clock could not exist. And just one part was missing, then the alarm clock would no longer be an alarm clock. It will be unable to perform its function, of waking us in the morning. If just one part is missing. If we go to a shop because we need an alarm clock, if just one part is missing, it doesn't work. So we are not going to buy such an alarm clock. So we can lose, in our mind, we lose the alarm clock as being very solid, very concrete. Or even if all the parts are there, but they are not put together as they should be, and then again, we won't buy such an alarm clock because we will not be able to use it. So again, we lose the alarm clock as being very concrete, solid, existing there from its own side. So and now we can release this example, and again we take ourselves as the example. We take our I as an example. And we look at our different parts. So what are our different parts? So we have a body and we have a mind. So what are the different parts of our body? We have, of course, we have different limbs. We have arms, legs, head. And if you look a little bit deeper, we see we have different organs. We have bones, blood, and so on. And if we look even deeper, we see there are so many cells making our body. And we exist on dependence on all these different parts that make our body. So again, if we arrive at feeling of losing this very solid, very concrete I, then we stay on that. When we look at the different parts that make our body, this sense of I, very solid, very concrete, like it's only one thing, or I, and it's always like that. This sense, a very solid I, we are losing it, disappear. So we stay with this disappearance. And slowly, slowly, we can relax our mind, let go of this analysis. And now we are going to look at the third level of dependent arising. And in this level, we are going to see that everything, so all the different objects around us and ourselves, we exist because of a label, a name. So again, we take the example of the alarm clock, or if we add another object, we take again the same object. So where does this name come from, alarm clock? If we look like at history, we can see that at some point someone created the first alarm clock. Perhaps this person, I'm not sure, perhaps it was someone from Switzerland who created the first alarm clock. And after they created it, they choose a name. Oh, I'm going to call this new thing. So very likely that the name first was not even an English name. It was not alarm clock. Perhaps it was, French name like réveil, or German name. And after this name has been translated into English, when alarm clocks, they arrive like in England, and after America. So the thing is, first the object appeared, and only after, a name was given. And at some point, of course, when we were a little child, first time we saw an alarm clock, we did not know what it was. Someone around us, perhaps our mother or father or brother, sister, they explained to us. They gave us the name. They told us, oh, it's an alarm clock. They show us how to use or what it was. At first, we did not know the name. Someone had to teach us the name. Then we can do the same for ourselves. We take again the I as an example. So during the 9 months we spend, in the matrix, in our mother womb, we did not have a name. And so we are born, and after our birth, our parents, they decide, they agree on a name. So of course, perhaps they already had ideas before we were born. If they thought, oh, if it's a girl, we can call her this, that, and if it's a boy, we can call him that. But nothing was decided. And perhaps, they had an idea of a name when they saw us, they had another idea. They changed their mind. They found another name. So during the time, during between our birth and the time when our parents, they decide our name, perhaps it was a few hours or even a whole day. So what happened to us during that time? If someone, like a nurse, they enter the room where we are with our parents, and they ask, where is Nicole? Where is Patty? Our parents will say, there is no Nicole, no Patty here. So we didn't exist yet as Nicole, Patty, and so on. So again, we can arrive to a sense, to a feeling of, we are losing this very solid I. And when we lose this feeling of very solid, very concrete, permanence, I, we stay a little bit, with a feeling that the way we exist is actually not so concrete, so solid. So slowly, we can let go of the meditation we are doing. We can decide to come back to this investigation later, to continue to explore this subject. But for now, we put it aside and we come back slowly, to our body, Again, we become aware of our body, the weight of our body. We become aware of the place where we are. If there are people around us, we become aware of these people around us. And so slowly, we can, start moving a little bit. Our arms, our head, open our eyes if they were closed. So it's introduction to this very vast subject of wisdom. So if you have questions, or if you'd like to share with the group your experience.
Venerable Detchen, I do have a little bit of a question on the 3 levels of dependent arising. So when you speak of them as levels, is it linear? Do you have to have the realization of the causes and conditions before the dependence on parts? Or am I trying to organize it inappropriately?
Right, so it's gradual in the sense that it's we start the first level is more gross, and slowly it's more subtle. But it's so it will make sense to do it gradually, of course, but I don't think you necessarily have to do it like that. If you feel like, for example, if you feel the second level it speaks more to you, I think you can focus on that. Don't necessarily need to stay again on the first level. It's really, I guess, it's depend of each person. Yes. Yes. Thank you. Anybody else? So, another thing I wanted to share, it's last week we talked about the 9 rounds breathing. So I found a description of this exercise, and also a video on YouTube of His Holiness Dalai Lama explaining this exercise. So I'm going to put it in the chat, and so this way you can do it, at home, or if you meet sometime at the center, you want to do it together. So I'm very surprised you're all so quiet. Perhaps you all reach, enlightenment during meditation, so you don't have any question. Either that or you don't understand anything and you don't dare to say, I don't know.
It's difficult to know where to begin sometimes, because it doesn't feel like I grasp at my sense of self. But when you go through the meditation, you explore all of the components that go into that identification. But still, it's trying to draw that bridge from the intellectual understanding to the experience is where I find myself. So it's almost like more meditation and study is all I can do. There's no questions I can think of.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. And actually, we are supposed to spend a lot of time to identify, what they call the object of negation. So it's this false sense of I, and it's what you say. It makes a lot of sense actually. So thank you very much, because it's really very, very important to start by having a clear mental image of how we see ourselves. And once we have a clear picture of that, then we can start to destroy it, with using analysis. So it's a very important point. And of course, it takes a lot of time.
Thank you.
So, Venerable Detchen, is it possible that the I that we're looking for is Buddha nature?
Okay. Okay. So when the I we are looking for, you mean when we do this analysis? So yeah. So here, what we try to do, because usually, we had a wrong sense of I. Like we think we are permanent, we are one, we are partless. Like it's the more gross way we grasp at ourselves. And what we try to do is to destroy this way that we see ourselves. Because actually we are not permanent, we are not one, and we are not partless, right? And then Buddha nature. Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, there is a connection. Of course, there is a connection, because when it's very linked. True nature is very linked with emptiness. It's but let's say that when we are doing this kind of meditation on emptiness, here we are not really, coming at it from the point of Buddha nature. Especially in our tradition, it's not really the way we approach this subject. But of course, our true nature, is completely one with this and with this wisdom as well. So, because what the false I we are going to eliminate, of course, it's not our true nature. Does it make sense, Patty? Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Well, this year it's what I'm studying at Nalanda. We have teachings on the Lamrim Chenmo, not right now because it's a summer break, but during the year. And so we started, this kind of teachings on insight at the beginning of the year, like in January, and we're going to continue until December. So, so it's like, and it's so vast and it's so deep and in so many ways to look at it, and so again, it's just, the thing is to study and to at the same time to meditate, and as well, more we are going to do like purification practices like Vajrasattva we talk about, and more we are going to like generate like merits by all the practices we are doing, and especially when we generate bodhicitta, and all that is going to help us to go more deeper and deeper in the understanding and the experience of insight, of wisdom. So yeah. Oh, yes, Arpita, please.
I have a question. So when we started doing the meditation, in the beginning, I felt like I was getting detached, like I was feeling emptiness. But then when I felt myself in the womb of my mom, I started feeling more attached to her. My mom had a lot of trauma in her life, so I felt some of that trauma while I was in the womb during the meditation. Is that normal? I mean, I know I'm supposed to feel emptiness, but I don't feel emptiness. I actually feel more attachment and empathy for my mom now.
Mm. Oh, it's very interesting. Yeah, of course, this kind of meditation, it can bring up things exactly as you described. So of course, it's completely normal. And if you have special relation with your mom, just thinking about this time when you were in your home, of course, it can bring this kind of things. And it's the thing is, it's not how to say. It's not exactly what we are looking to do when we do this kind of meditation in this context. So it's nothing like bad, of course. It's just not really like the focus of this meditation. So it means what you offer is fantastic. If you have more, like love and so on for your mom, it's very positive. And you can use that like when you try to meditate, when you meditate on love and compassion and bodhicitta, to use this experience in this way, in this kind of meditation.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So shall we do dedication of merits, if it's okay with everybody? Right.
Yes,
So,
Venerable Detchen, can we first do the short mandala offering to thank you for the end of your teachings, and then do our dedication? Is that okay for you?
yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. Yeah, thank you.
This ground anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, the 4 continents, the sun and moon. I imagine this as a Buddha land and offer it. May all transmigratory beings enjoy this pure land. May my perfect, pure Guru's life be long, and his virtuous actions flourish in the 10 directions. May the torch of the teachings of Losang Dragpa always remain, dispelling the darkness of the transmigratory beings of the 3 levels. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kam Niryatayami.
So when we do the dedication, it's always very, very good to, we say, to seal the merits in emptiness. So to do that, when we recite the prayers, we think, the I reciting the prayer doesn't actually exist from its own side. You can think, I exist like a dream, like in a dream. The merits we dedicate, they don't exist from their own side. They're like a dream. And the goal to which we dedicate the merit does not exist from its own side. It's like a dream. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly gain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all living beings, without exception, into that enlightened state. May the Supreme Jewel Bodhicitta that has not arisen, arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. The wish granting, wish fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, the incomparably kind, supreme Tenzin Gyatso, may you have a long life and all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. Dom son jong jin jan gyun gyer wen ten jin kyung per wen kun se dong pon jin chong sung ku e le mun du dong ba dang su dun ji gan du shan ten chong. Thank you very much, everybody, for for your time and for your presence in this space that we share together. And so please continue your study, meditation, and don't always we are, like Lama Zopa says, we are never alone. All the time there are Buddhas around us, guiding us, loving us. So we are never alone. We just have to, to remember to connect with the Buddhas and with our true nature. And if we sometimes we lose a bit hope, of course, it's very good because you have a community. So you have Dharma friends around you. So don't hesitate to, It's good if you can, you have each other email or whatever. And you can send a little message and you can go for coffee. And so this way it become very strong between each one of you. If you have some difficulties, you can talk to a friend and when a friend needs you, you are here for them. So it's become very precious. So yeah, thank you very much.